Oh yeah, that's why I was gonna say give the Quick Claw to Mewtwo, is because if you could proc Quick Claw and then have the Flint.
What did I say, Brayden? What did I say?
Fuck!
What did I say?
That's how I felt when I learned the next update's name is the original one. It was so obvious from the very beginning and no one listened. Now, all I can say is, what did I say, dear viewer? What did I say? So as you can already tell, the next update is going to be all about Sumeru. And the newest arc and quest related to the Song of Welkin Moon is called The Truth Amongst the Pages of Purana, which is also the true final act of Sumeru's arc and quest. So yes, it was never a mistranslation. It was intentional from the very beginning. I did not expect that name to appear in this arc of the game, but here we are. We got the newest special program, and I'd say I am actually really happy that everything is all about Sumeru because my husband. And 2, I made a lot, and by lots, I mean a lot of Sumeru related videos since Luna 3. No one, once again, believed what I said, but I hold true to my videos and I'm so glad it came to a fruition because based on what we got in that program, everything starts to cycle back to that video once again. With that, we have to talk about it. Just a warning, this video is heavy theorizing and speculation, so take everything I say with a grain of salt. As always, don't forget to give this video a like and comment so the channel can be noticed by the algorithm. My name is Neko Kitsune and I make lore and commentary videos on the channel to keep you company. Hold up! Before we continue, I just want to let you know that this video is sponsored by me. There really isn't much for me to say here, but I finally opened my art commission. I am available on both VII and Discord, so you can contact me on either platform that you prefer. You can just type vgen.com/nekokitsune and I'll immediately pop up into your screen. Wow, magic! If you're on Discord, just DM me via VGen and I'll give you my username. Here's what I provide. You'll be in full control of the step-by-step process, you'll receive the reference sheets, no generative AI, and you'll receive the speech paint for free by your request. I always want to provide an additional service for you guys, and this is a win-win for both of us where you get something in return, while I receive your additional support to further improve this channel. My commission rates are currently at 10% discount until next month, so be sure to grab your commission before time runs out. Click my VGen link in the description below, or contact me via Discord for further details and get your custom commission artworks today. Now let's continue with the content. If you never watched the Travail trailer, which I'm pretty sure 99% of you have, that video is basically the basic synopsis of what we can expect within the next few regions of Genshin Impact. Not all of them are that accurate, I'd say, which in this case includes Sumeru, Fontaine, and Natlan. At the very least, I can see Natlan's a bit more accurate to its description and Fontaine's as well, albeit it's no longer Fossil Lord that wanted to judge other gods, but rather New Valette, who is now the ruler of Fontaine and is basically the current god of justice. However, Sumeru feels very inaccurate considering what happened in the game is not really because Nahida makes no arguments against it, but rather because she can't make any arguments against it since her own people imprisoned her. It's not even a secret by the people of Sumeru. Everyone knew that the Academia was against worshipping Nahida at the time, and it somehow became a rule in Sumeru until Rukkhadevata was erased from the Irminsul. However, now that the new trailer finally shows us the new perspective for the true final act of Sumeru, everything that Dainsleif said in that video makes a lot, and by lots I mean a lot of sense.
The god of wisdom's enemy is wisdom itself, and the oasis of knowledge is a mirage in the desert of ignorance. In the city of scholars, there is a push for folly, yet the god of wisdom makes no argument against it.
But of course, if you want to know that, we have to get into the basis and context of the next updates. So, let's do this. The Irminsul is on fire based on Collei's stream, which is something that we already knew before Sumeru was even released. Winternight Lazo was released during 2.8, the second Golden Apple Archipelago event where we were introduced to two main things, the faces of the Fatui Harbingers and crumbs of Sumeru where the Irminsul got burnt at the end. We won't talk about the Fatui today, but we can talk about Dottore and Pantalone. Oh yes, the mysterious man is indeed Pantalone 100% since the mystery man and Pantalone share the same voice actor. Besides, he is Dottore's #1 supporter anyway based on Sandrone's notes, so even before the reveal, it is very obvious from the very beginning that Pantalone is the one that supported Dottore. If you see this frame, you might find it a little bit odd and familiar at the same time. That's because this frame is actually the Withering, and based on its design, all of this is Dottore's doing. So why is that? Further in the livestream, we learned that the next weekly boss is not even Dottore, but shares the same exact features that Dottore has.
This new opponent does seem to share a lot of similarities to Dottore, and unfortunately for us, he is just as dangerous.
If you still don't get what Alice is trying to say, this Dottore is actually the manifestation of the Abyss using the Forbidden Knowledge. The Withering is the byproduct of the Forbidden Knowledge after all, so what else can this be possibly done other than the being that is literally the Forbidden Knowledge itself? Now, Forbidden Knowledge is a very complex abyssal power because it contains the truth that is constantly being rejected by Teyvat, and according to Apep, it was Nibelang who first brought it into the world. In other words, the Forbidden Knowledge contains the dark truth of what Teyvat is, or even the future of Teyvat. Combine that with what the Hexen Circle says about the Abyss, the essence of the Abyss is fates that will never come to pass, or basically, fates that is not chosen by the Irminsul or Teyvat. Finally, Wings of the Silent Moon implies that the deepest part of the Irminsul is abyssal in nature after you open several doors that lead to that core. You also have to remember that the Irminsul is where Teyvat's data are being stored and is connected to the ley lines. When one dies, they return to the ley lines, which of course connect to the tree as well. So if we combine all of this together, this meant that the Forbidden Knowledge specifically did came from the outside world, but its corruption already sunk deep into the Irminsul that no matter how much the Heavenly Principles tries to prevent the Abyss to enter Teyvat, the Abyss is already a part of Teyvat to begin with. You also have to remember that the Moon Goddesses say that the Heavenly Principles is paranoid of the Abyss, and Nabu Malikata also says that to be the case. As to how this relates to Dottore, well, basically, Dottore is no more, but the one we see as the weekly boss is the manifestation of Dottore by the Forbidden Knowledge. It's basically like Roland and Gosoithoth, where they're no longer Roland and Xiuquatl, but they're just the Abyss. Their case is literally the same as well. Gosoithoth was of course by the abyssal powers that already spread throughout Natlan, while Roland was by using the remaining of the Wild Hunt enemies. The funny thing is that once you are exposed to the Forbidden Knowledge, your mind starts to go haywire and you'll go mad. But why Dottore seems to be the same? I mean... Guys, Dottore is already a madman from the very beginning. Even before the Academia expelled him, he was already insane by getting a classmate be devoured by a tiger and experimented on the Elazar patients. One patient was so deeply scarred by the experience that he suffered extreme paranoia and desperately tried to escape the medical facility that was in the middle of the desert. Despite being cured, he finds the cure to be a curse because you wanna know how Dottore does it? He used a flesh of the unalive to cure that poor man. I'm not joking, read the letter yourself if you want to know the gory details. Anyways, you get the gist. Even though the Dottore we see right now is basically, well, Dottore because it has the exact same personality as the human one, it's also not because it's the manifestation of the Forbidden Knowledge. Not helping that Dottore created many segments of himself and all of them already died, returning to the ley lines, which of course connects to the Irminsul with the Forbidden Knowledge already inside his mind. However, one can say that this is the Dottore we know of because it's possible that this is the real Dottore in the form of his own memories. You can say that this is the prime Dottore that was teased in the Winter Night Lazo, or maybe his prime is the manifestation of the Forbidden Knowledge itself. Regardless of which is true, one thing is clear. The body of Dottore is no more, but his memories are now returning to the ley lines, already with an extensive amount of Forbidden Knowledge in order to truly burn the Irminsul tree. Now you might question, if this is Dottore's real plan all along, why does he go to the extent of trying to wield the authority of the three moon goddesses instead, which in this case is equal to having the authority of reason, life, death, time, and space? Based on my understanding, he needs to wield this power in order for him to also bring it down to the ley lines. You can look at his boss design again, and while you see Muso no Hitotachi is great and all, people forget that he attacks us with a lot of other attacks as well, including Xiuquatl's wings and sword. His ornaments also have something interesting. It's as, alright, it resembles the moon mirrors that he obtained during our battle in Outcry. You know what's worse? He was able to create an artificial moon marrow. In Luna 3's Archon Quest, Nicole told us that the moons are no longer part of Teyvat and Columbina was continuously being rejected by the world until the Frost Moon returned to Teyvat. So what do you know? The moons are basically part of his experiments for this moment specifically, and they are not that far off from being close to the forbidden knowledge because the moons are also being constantly rejected by Teyvat. Now, where does he get all of this information? Well, this goes all the way to his pre-expelled days when he visited Thoth for the first time and also Nabu Malikata. Some of you might find it interesting that Nicole appears in this Archon Quest, but in case you forgot, she was the one who reminded the traveler that fate can't easily be changed at the end of Sumeru's interlude chapter. Not only that, the Hexen Circle is an organization known to conduct Irminsul exploration from time to time, so her appearance is actually quite expected. What does this have to do with Nabu Malikata though? And more importantly, why is Collei roped in this? Well, one of my Discord friends sent me a very old Reddit post talking about this, and this is where everything just starts to click. Now, before we even get there, I just want to point out the obvious. Why is Nabu Malikata involved in all of this? First of all, Jet and Lilupar will appear in this Archon Quest, and not only that, they are voiced. Jet's quest was a journey to find the Eternal Oasis, basically Nabu Malikata's grave, with Lilupar helping her and the Traveler in finding it. Lilupar herself is a Jinni, which if you don't know, is the byproduct of Nabu Malikata's wounds when she wandered off the desert. Finally, there's Thoth, who has direct connection with Nabu Malikata by planting flowers in Icannum alongside her, into which this is self-proclaimed, but it is worth to note on. Nefer is coming in this Archon Quest, and she herself is a descendant of Tuletula because her tribe, the Shimti, originated from that city. Even if she isn't, she is still connected to Tuletula anyway, because the Curatorium of Secrets OST is called Shatao of Tuletula and Pushpafatika, which both are direct connection to Nabu Malikata, since the city of Tuletula was indirectly made by her tears, and Pushpafatika is one of her titles. Regardless, we'll likely get to the real truth of Thoth's claims back in Luna 2's event quest. Now back to Collei. So we all know that Dottore used God's remains to experiment on the Elixir patients, which in this case includes Collei, who got God's remains inside her body. Even though it's cured, it's more like sealed by Sino in the manga, so her God's remains power still remains in her body until today. The question is, which God's remains does it belong to? I believe the answer is Nabu Malikata. Let me explain. So, the funny thing about this is that the angels are capable of foreseeing the future. We saw this plenty of times already. It's mentioned in the prayers of illumination, and it's also a lot more prominent with Nabu Malikata and Koitak. The funny thing is that even Nicole hinted that she saw this coming at the end of Luna 4's Archon Quest. Now, it's worth noting that some characters that are not angels are capable of seeing the future as well, like Mona and Barbaroth that are capable of doing that by reading the stars. Renee and Sandrone are capable of doing such by using the world formula. There's also Rothfangi to some extent. Linnea and Kalaino are capable of reading their own fates because of their race. And finally, Citlali, who is able to read the future by linking herself to the Night Kingdom. Now, this is interesting because it seems reading the future doesn't seem to be that difficult for the people of Teyvat. But even that being the case, they can't just read the future nilly-willy, but it seems it's easier with the angels because of one thing. They are connected to the ley lines and also dreaming. I'll be taking two crucial examples here, in this case Linnea and Citlali. Linnea and Kalaino are augury birds, and even though they can only see their own future, they are still seeing the future regardless. The way of them being able to do this is basically by dreaming, as Linnea was able to see hers after being unconscious. Citlali's case is similar, where she uses the forbidden arts within the Masters of the Night's Wind to see the fates of the Pyro Archon. As far as the game implies, she links links herself to the Night Kingdom by dreaming, which is the same with Linnea, who was able to see her future by doing just that. If we take a look at Koitar, she was able to tell Voinen about the future she saw from her dream where humans are able to be free from the shackles of the heavenly principles. What's more about this method is that it's hinted in the Nagado's Emerald Gemstone, where Nahida saw herself being surrounded by her own people in a dance. This is true in so many ways because she was surrounded by people dancing during the Sapsaris festival. What's even more interesting is what Nicole said at the end of the trailer, which usually the Hexen Circle are quite allegorical with their words, but this time what she said is very straightforward.
Dreams can sometimes be a warning of things that will soon come to pass.
So if dreaming is indeed a way for people to see the future, then it's not a surprise to say that Nabu Malikata is capable of doing just that. In fact, Nabu Malikata's other titles further supports this, where she is also known as the Mistress of Dreams. She even foresaw the Cataclysm coming, and this is when she was alive during the Archon War era and helped Rukkhadevata combat it by creating Kavarena, a form of energy that can be used to combat the Abyss and the Forbidden Knowledge. Now back to Collei again. I know a lot of you will counter this argument by saying that she only has this dream because she was tormented by Dottore for years, in which case, yeah, I won't deny that. However, I don't think that should be the definitive answer as to why she is even able to see the future. So there has to be another explanation. This is where I 100% believe that the God's remains inside her is indeed Nabu Malikata, because in this frame, she said this.
From the eyes of the creator!
And you might find this interesting, but based on the visuals, it seems Nicole helped her in reciting this line. Now, it's not about Nicole helping her, no. Because if that's the case, then Arlecchino and Farca are counted as angels at this point. The thing is, I found this line vaguely familiar. It's as if I read this line before. Oh yeah, this line is already written in the game, more specifically in Scroll of the Streaming Song, where Nabu Malikata introduces herself as an angel to Rukkhadevata. The only reason I knew is because of my past videos talking about Dottore's connection with Deshret and Nabu Malikata, so this really came to a surprise to me since this is just interesting. We have no idea why Collei and Nicole attempted to do this, but this is likely where we finally get to learn further about Nabu Malikata and her rebellion in the first place. This further solidifies my theory that Dottore indeed found this plan after he scoured deep inside the ruins of Sumeru, and he likely used Deshret's original plan to attempt this rebellion, which now comes to the next section where we'll explore the past theory I made in this channel. But of course, you get the drill. This video took some time for me to make, which you can even say this video was in the process of making since Luna 3, where I already foresaw this coming with the Deshret and Nabu Malikata connections just based on the Dottore's attack animation. All in all, I just want to let you know that I am a solo player in this channel. No one helps me in making the script, thumbnails, assets, and even editing. So of course, if you can hit that like and subscribe button, you're helping this channel be pushed by the algorithm, which is already a huge help in itself. With that said, let's continue. In the past, I made 4 videos talking about Dottore's strong connection with King Deshret and Nabu Malikata. There are 2 main points in this case, that being his life in the desert and his attack animations that look eerily similar with the primal constructs in Sumeru Desert. If you read Flower of Paradise Lost lore, then you might remember that this is the first time we learn about the truth of the heavenly principles, the 4 shades, and interestingly, another nail that will descend in the future. In the past, we learned that most civilizations are destroyed by the heavenly principles because of their fear towards the abyss. The 3 moon goddesses confirmed this themselves, but this is already confirmed in the artifact set by Nabu Malikata personally, where she warned Deshret to not pursue his plans, but he continues to do it anyway. Now that we learn in the trailer that Sumeru is likely going to be purged by the heavenly principles, or in this case is likely by the shades, then it's no surprise that a celestial nail will descend again in the future. Knowing that Nabu Malikata can see the future, this means that a celestial nail will descend to Sumeru again, but it's not because of Deshret specifically, but because of his insane plans. But of course, we know it won't be the case because either this claim is just wrong or, well, Traveler is there to rescue everyone. However, let's not talk about how it will end because that's not fun. The interesting part is how we'll get to that point. So we learn in Flower of Paradise Lost that Nabu Malikata aided King Deshret to pursue higher knowledge from beyond the false sky. She used herself as an abyssal conduit and ended up sacrificing herself in the process. The interesting thing about this is that she told King Deshret to not be afraid of the celestial nail when it descended, and she also told Deshret to not seek the 4 shades. Now we'll get to the shades in a bit. Despite all of these warnings, despite her fears, she still finds Deshret's heretical plan to potentially succeed. Hence why she helped Deshret anyway. The problem is that what Nabu Malikata showed Deshret is unlikely to be the forbidden knowledge because that already existed within Teyvat and could likely be something else, which in this case I believe it's the 3 moon goddesses because it is mentioned in the Staff of Scarlet Sands and the moons are being rejected by Teyvat. Regardless, the keyword here is potential. And knowing that Dottore has explored Sumeru Desert for some time, this could mean that Dottore found out about this from the ruins he explored. The very first time we learned that Dottore is intrigued with this is when he first visited Thoth's domain around 500 years ago. He wrote in his notes that despite not liking Thoth, his discovery within Thoth's temple is interesting to him. Based on what Thoth said, Dottore's interest in Deshret's heretical plan started when he first stepped into Thoth's temple. It is heavily implied that Dottore occasionally visits the desert from time to time to explore the ruins of Gurabat and conducts forbidden experiments with Elazar patients. Now here's the question. What is Deshret's plan anyway? Why is his plan so bad that a celestial nail will descend on Sumeru? Why is it so bad that Nabu Malikata warned Deshret to avoid the 4 shades as much as possible? Now let's take a look at the trailer again. Let's take a look at the description. Pretty interesting so far. Nothing out of the... Oh my god! Zulupar and Jet are getting a no. You're right. A Bap is coming back. No, I'm sorry, what? That's wrong. Oh yeah, you're right. Satos is voicing... Okay, just kidding. That's right. Tiberius will appear in this Archon quest. Now, to be fair, I don't think Tiberius is talking with Nahida in this line specifically.
Till we meet again, Lord of Dendro.
But rather she is talking with Rukkhadevata. She likely knew about Deshret and Nabu Malikata's grand schemes and warned Rukkhadevata about it. However, I think the more plausible answer is that Rukkhadevata talked to Naberius about this and asked for her advice because she already knew about Deshret's plan when both him and Nabu Malikata told her about it. She was the only one who did not support her friends because that plan is literally affecting her as the avatar of the Irminsul. Yes, what I'm implying is, Deshret's plan is to burn the Irminsul tree all along. It's even supported in Flowers of Paradise Lost's lore, where this plan basically needs Deshret to lie to his own civilization in order to lead them to oblivion. So of course, when Rukkhadevata heard that, she was like, the f***, you want to burn my body? Oh my god, that is so funny if that's true. So yeah, the point is that it's not about the nail descending on the Dottore or Deshret, but it descends when the plan finally comes to a fruition. In this case, it's not the heavenly principles that will cast the nail, but it's the shades of the heavenly principles. That's right, they finally intervene. And everything will happen to the exact same way like what Nabu Malikata said. You have to remember that Deshret declined the Gnosis. The man that is supposed to be the Dendro Archon rejected it because he has another plan that can transcend the shackles of the heavenly principles, and it is by burning the Irminsul tree in order for everyone to be free. Now when I finally understand this artifact's lore and assuming they are planning to burn the tree, my respect towards Deshret and Nabu Malikata just plummeted down the drain because, excuse me, you're seriously going to sacrifice thousands and thousands of people just to see if this plan will free everyone from the heavenly principles. And not only that, it's potentially... Now look, I am not on the side of the heavenly principles because I know they did what they did for a reason and it's for the greater good, but their methods are just as insane. I can't possibly believe that burning the tree is the way to actually free everyone. What they're doing right now is basically what would happen if Capitano succeeded in removing Natlan's ley lines, or if Mabuika used her gnosis to weave a net to eradicate the abyss at the cost of the Night Kingdom's memories being completely wiped. The only problem with Deshret and Nabu Malikata's plan is that it gets even worse because this does not only affect the people from Sumeru, but everyone in Teyvat. But, I wonder, why does it have the chance to free everyone? Interestingly, Mabuika's banner is rerunning in this update, and assuming the two are planning to burn the Irminsul, then her involvement could likely be related to her pyrognosis, or she might even be involved directly since the way this plan could work is the same as using the Gnosis to erase the Night Kingdom's memories. Now, the funny thing about this is that Pantalone fully supported Dottore's plans. It is implied by Saturn's notebook that Pantalone used the Fatui's fundings to help Dottore in doing this, but she also said that as if he does not have the authority to use all of them on one single Harbinger. It could be because Pantalone hated Morak so much that he just wanted to burn everything, but at the same time, this sort of plan is actually supported by Anastasia because in Shiva the Jade Gemstone, she also wants to burn the old world, which of course, in order to do that, the Irminsul has to be destroyed. Regardless of what it is clear that Pantalone and likely Anastasia fully supported Dottore's plans in order to achieve this level of rebellion. However, here's something interesting. Apparently, this act of rebellion is considered as folly from the artifact set, but at the same time, Nabu Malikata saw potential of this to be a success. Another thing is that Pantalone mentions the Heavenly Principles' governments to be either wisdom or folly.
Does the Heavenly Principles rule with wisdom or folly?
Which either way, he is right, because we saw what the Heavenly Principles did, and despite being for the greater good, it came at an extremely heavy cost and even saddened everyone, including the three moon goddesses themselves. Folly and wisdom. Either way, both are the enemies of the god of wisdom. Interesting.
The god of wisdom's enemy is wisdom itself, and the oasis of knowledge is a mirage in the desert of ignorance. In the city of scholars, there is a push for folly, yet the god of wisdom makes no argument against it.
It makes a lot of sense now, don't you think? So at the end of the day, all of this already transpired not only from the current events of the game, but even all the way during the rulership of the three companion gods. Either way, no one is the god of wisdom's true ally, because whether it's wisdom or folly of either the Heavenly Principles or Deshret, both of them are her enemies, and no matter what she does, she can't make any argument against them because the Irminsul is already abyssal in nature thanks to the forbidden knowledge, and she'll likely know that burning the Irminsul will eradicate the abyss for good. Basically, even though she knew that Deshret's plan could work, she can't even agree to that because that's against the rules of the Heavenly Principles. It's stupid to keep the corrupted tree as is, but it's also stupid to burn it because what will happen to everyone at that point? I feel like the Nagadas Emerald Gemstone is a much better foreshadowing of what we can expect in Sumeru than Travail, because the description makes sense before or even after truth amongst the pages of Purana. The final line is referring to the forbidden knowledge because even though Nibalang and Deshret already died, the forbidden knowledge is still there and it is still counted as wisdom since it is the truth that is being constantly rejected by Teyvat. Right now, that same wisdom is being used by Dottore, who at this point is already dead. It still became a weapon anyway because the forbidden knowledge used Dottore's memories that are already deep inside the Irminsul tree. The tree needs to be burned in order to free everyone from their predestined fate. The tree needs to be burned in order for everyone to transcend fate. The tree needs to be burned in order for everyone to share the vast sky with the gods they once revered. In order for everyone to be king of kings, because they are no longer tied by the threats of fate. So no matter how you look at it, both Deshret and the Heavenly Principles hold their own share of wisdom and folly, and both of them have their own merits and consequences. The Irminsul, as stated by Dottore, has hidden secrets that it refuses to share even with the God of Wisdom herself, who is the literal avatar of the Irminsul. The Heavenly Principles' rulership is both wisdom and folly, took care of its inhabitants, but also the overwhelming paranoia that they have of the dark truth of this world. Deshret's wisdom is to ascend humans from their fates, but his folly is his own delusions that might or might not work. Dottore himself took this and used the wisdom of the forbidden knowledge, yet Nahida can't make any argument against it when the Heavenly Principles or the Shades want to destroy Sumer with the Celestial Nail. The dark truth of Teyvat that even the God of Wisdom could not make any argument against. The God of Wisdom's enemy is wisdom itself, and the oasis of knowledge is a mirage in the desert of ignorance. In the city of scholars there is a push for folly, yet the God of Wisdom makes no arguments against it. Lights of wisdom under the flowers, and that is the truth amongst the pages of Purana.